Yo, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, welcome back to another Anthem video, and today it is finally time to share my Colossus tank build. With this build, you can go headlong into battle, be on the front lines in Grandmaster difficulty, you can go toe-to-toe with the toughest opponents, and you will not die. It is the embodiment of what the Colossus is supposed to be. So if you guys do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below if you have any questions. And also, today's video is very kindly sponsored by NVIDIA RTX. For those of you guys that saw my video the other week, you'll know they sent me an awesome Colossus PC. And with that, we are playing today in 4K 60 FPS running on ultra settings. So of course, don't forget to click that cog in the bottom right corner if you want to see this video in 4K. Massive shout out to NVIDIA for that. Now, if we then turn our attention to the Forge, let's start by breaking down what this build is made of. Firstly, on your weapon front, I use a Masterwork version of Endless Siege. It is a Masterwork autocannon, it's an upgraded torrent, and this is the one where your accuracy improves the longer you fire it. But the Masterwork perk for this is that the base magazine size is increased by 100%, and base damage is also increased by 100%. Now keep in mind, for the Colossus build, it's not about burst damage. You're not going to be doing insane amounts of damage in a small hit. What it's about is staying alive and putting out sustained damage. This weapon has an absolutely insane magazine, and you can keep firing for a very long time. With this, you can do, if you're fighting a boss and you're shooting the conventional weak spot, you might be doing, say, 1,000 or 1,200 per hit, and if you've got 400 or 500 bullets in the magazine, that's a lot of damage over a period of time. And of course, pair that with something like a target beacon or a better weak point, and sometimes you can be doing 2k per shot. The point is, this is long sustained damage, it's good output, and it's probably the best autocannon you can get. So this is for sure your primary weapon. When it comes to the secondary weapon, however, you are kind of free to choose however you like. Given the large magazine, and given that if you run over ammo pickups, a lot of the time you won't really need to swap to your secondary, so you are kind of free to pick what you want. However, the one that I do have here, since this build is all about staying alive and keeping yourself on the front lines, I do have the Bomb of Galvinicus, which is a Masterwork upgraded lurker. This is the grenade launcher that you fire out and you have to manually detonate the shots. And the bonus perk for this, or the Masterwork perk, is that hitting 2 enemies restores 25% armor. And remember, the armor is your green bar, shield is your blue bar. So essentially, this heals you if you shoot the enemies. So if you do get into a really sticky situation, and as you'll see in a moment, if your abilities are on cooldown, you can then switch this weapon and use it as a means to heal. But in truth, I don't find myself swapping to this that often. It's more there for kind of the absolute emergencies. So if we then swap over to the first gear piece, the heavy assault launcher, this is a legendary version. Of course, you can use the Masterwork one as well, but the legendary version of the siege artillery called Best Defense. The Masterwork, or the legendary perk for this one, is that when you hit an enemy with a rocket, it restores 35% armor. Now, this ability is pretty powerful anyway. If you pair it with the right components, as you'll see in a minute, you can get some good damage out of this. But on top of that, it also recharges very quickly. I do also have gear speed on it anyway, but generally speaking, it's just a move that is pretty quick to recharge, so you tend to have access to this a lot of the time. But the fact that you can then just fire this out into an enemy and you can get your armor back, your health back, this means you kind of end up using this move more so as something you save. You use it and then you hold on to it, and then if you're in the thick of battle and your health starts going down, you just fire the rocket into the middle of the battle and you then get your health back and you continue the process. So this is not only powerful, but it's also one of your main ways for keeping yourself alive. On top of that, you're then going to want the Ordnance Launcher, which is, in this case, a legendary version again. Got super lucky with the drop. It's the Voltaic Dome. That is an upgraded shot coil. Now, this is different to the Lightning Coil. If you guys have seen my previous build, then you'll know that one of my other favorite builds for Colossus is Flamethrower Lightning Coil. Lightning Coil is the one that can be used behind shield and it automatically does stuff, whereas the Shot Coil, you have to hold it down and it then shocks in an area and will tag different enemies. Now, what's so good about this one is the Masterwork perk for this is that when you tag an enemy with the lightning, it freezes them. So this is special for the Colossus, since the Colossus, in terms of elements, only normally has access to fire and acid. But with this, you can freeze. And this is incredibly good for controlling crowds. You literally run into the thick of it, run into the middle of a big group of enemies, you deploy your shot coil, it freezes them, and of course, when you factor that with the Colossus combo effect, which when you detonate a combo dishes out a large amount of AoE damage, this is an exceptional way to clear crowds. You freeze something, you slam the ground with your melee, you explode everything, or of course if you want to detonate with your missile instead, you can do that. But as mentioned before, we tend to save that sometimes for either the big damage or when you want to keep yourself alive. So typically your flow will just be freeze and slam the ground, everything blows up around you, and it's just a good time for everyone. So this is incredibly useful. It will help you control crowds if things have dropped their shields. Sometimes if things are getting hectic and you just need to get out, you can literally just tap the shock coil, freeze things, and if you need to, you could even run away. I mean, Colossus don't run away, but if you had to. Of course, on top of that, for your support ability, I have Battle Cry. Now, in truth, this move, I feel like it probably needs a little bit of work because the way that it actually works in combat, you can grab things from a cone, and then when you target things or when you tag things, it's then supposed to force the enemies to focus on you. I have found a lot of the time when using this in Stronghold, sometimes you use it, the enemies get marked, but they still don't seem to focus on you, so I'm not sure whether, there's a bug for that. But either way, point is, there are times this does work. You run up to a crowd, you use this, they focus on you, you pair that with the shock coil to freeze them, you stand the ground, you fire your blast missile in, you get the idea. This is kind of just sort of part of the tank nature. Generally speaking, in any game if you're playing tank, you want to try and get the aggro, so this is your aggro generation move. So, those are your abilities. But of course, as with any good build, you then want to pair it with a good suite of components. Now I will say that I am missing one of them, however the build itself functions completely fine, it works perfectly in Grandmaster difficulty. I haven't had any issues not having this, but I'll go over the one missing component at the end, and simply by having that, it would just give you even more survivability. But without it, it still works perfectly. I've got almost a full set of Masterwork components. There is one epic component in there, but it's actually a really good one, so there's a very good reason that I've kept that. The first one, in truth, this is the one that I'm actually going to replace. I'm kind of just having it in here because it's the legendary one, Grand Entrance. It's kind of fun, but it's not that useful. Basically, you fly towards the ground, and when you slam the ground, you have a small explosion. It's not bad for kind of detonating in trash mobs, but in truth, this isn't something you'll be reliably using because it's, basically just for when you enter the area. So this is the one that I will drop, and if you guys are mirroring this build, this is the one that you could replace when it comes down to it. You then have Stalwart's Badge, which increases your maximum ammo capacity by 35%, and the Masterwork perk is that if your shield breaks, it increases all your ability damage by 40% for 5 seconds. Now factor in, of course, your abilities being your shock coil and your siege artillery. So again, if you're in a situation and you're in the thick of battle, your shield's broken, you're probably then going to be taking some heat. You can then fire your missile off, which will heal you, but it also does more damage thanks to this bonus. You then have Catalytic Overdrive, which increases your combo damage by 50%, which is really good because, of course, the Colossus combo effect is very powerful. Plus, when you detonate a combo, it increases your ability damage by 40% for 20 seconds. So again, if you go back to the way I was describing it before, you will typically use shock coil to freeze enemies. You then slam the ground to detonate them, and then in doing that, you activate Catalytic Overdrive, so then when you follow up with your siege artillery, with your best defense, it then does more damage. After that, you have Synchronized Frame, which increases your heavy assault launcher damage by 5%, and if you defeat an enemy, it increases your RB damage by 60% for 5 seconds, which again, of course, goes nicely into this whole loop. The final Masterwork component, I'll come back to the epic one in just a second, is the Ablative Shielding. For this one, it heavily reinforces the Colossus armor and shields again, and if you get a shield break, it also increases your damage resistances by 25% for 5 seconds. So again, pairing with that one from before, if your shield breaks, you get a damage increase, plus it also increases your resistances, so when you don't have access to your shield, you do have a little bit more protection. And then finally, for the epic component, the choice here, of course, this one stacks with the previous one. This increases your combo damage for a further 50%, and obviously it doesn't have an additional perk because it's just an epic one, but the fact that this now stacks for a whopping increase to your combo damage, again, leans into the Colossus' strengths, means you go into a crowd, you freeze them, you slam the ground, everything blows up. It's just a good time. So, all up, when you combine all this together, essentially the way you use the build is pretty simple. You find a big crowd of enemies, you run towards them, you use your shock coil to freeze them, you then slam the ground. This of course then activates your perks. Now if you need some sustained damage, that's where you lean into your weapons. If you start taking some damage or if you start taking some heat, you can then use your best defense to heal yourself. Plus of course if you're fighting a boss and you're in a situation where you want to do some good damage, then of course best defense is also a pretty good output on that front. And you then repeat the cycle. Because the shock coil is one of those abilities you have to hold down, you basically always have charges for it. You never need to hold it down for very long. You can tap it, freeze things, slam the ground, and repeat the process. So it's kind of one of those things you can always rely on. So if ever things get hectic, you can then freeze them and reposition. And of course, you can then have your shield up if you need some extra defense. So all up, with this together, combine all the Masterwork perks, combine all your strength, you'll have a lot of health, a lot of armor, you'll have your shield, You'll also have the ability to heal yourself with your gun and with your siege artillery. Now, I did say that there is one component I'm missing. If you really want to make this build perfect, what you want to go and get is Demolition Tribute. This is a component that when you defeat an enemy with a melee attack, it instantly grants you a percentage of your armor. Now, when you factor that in with the way that the build behaves and the fact that you will be freezing enemies and slamming the ground, you'll be using your melee quite frequently. So this again is just another means to heal yourself. It then means that you have access to heals from your weapon, from your siege artillery, and from your melee. So if you get this, you have this, throw this in, swap out the grand entrance with this, and you will have a super solid tank build. So that's it, my friends. That is a look at the Colossus tank build. That is what I'm running right now. It is so much fun. It allows me to literally get into the thick of battle and do exactly what I want as a Colossus. I want to be up there, I want to be on the front lines, I want to be causing mayhem, and this allows me to do that. Now, before I wrap up, I do want to touch on very quickly the DLSS technology coming to Anthem very soon as part of the NVIDIA RTX features. DLSS, or Deep Learning Super Sampling, is an RTX exclusive feature that basically uses artificial intelligence to improve your game performance at high resolutions, and that's going to be coming to Anthem very soon. So the next video I do with NVIDIA will be taking a look at that. So if you guys are interested in that, then do stay tuned, because we'll have more on that very soon. But for the time being, that's it. Keep it locked for plenty more Anthem coverage. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to check out some more awesome stuff from us here at Arekkz Gaming, then you should definitely try to catch 269 and Paradise Central streaming 6 days a week. You can find a link to the multi-stream in the description box down below. They play a wide range of games, and what's more, we also have the Endgame store. By watching their streams, you earn currency, and you can redeem that currency on the Endgame store for really cool prizes. Those can range from things like games, comics, and figures, all the way up to controllers, capture cards, and even consoles. So definitely drop by and become part of the community. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, then make sure you're subscribed and be sure to click on that little bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss our next upload. You can watch more videos by clicking on the options here, but once again, thanks very much for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.